I made some videos on the Moors before, but I left out some quotes on purpose because they were made by Europeans and I didn't find them that important at the time. Now, these quotes, especially the first one that I'm going to show, compare the Moors to other people around the world, meaning that when they mention this, they're speaking specifically about the race of the Moors. In some of these quotes, they will mention the religion, but for the most part, they're speaking of the race. So, for example, the first one by Thomas Stevens being one of the first people to ever go to India, Europeans to go to India, and he went to very specific locations and noticed that he saw people of different races in that region. But this is a letter by him where he says, now there's a longer part of it, but I'm not going to read the rest of it because it's him talking about his journey. He said, Sir, they see land, which we did to our great joy when all our water and victuals began to fail us. And to Goa we came the 4 and 20th day of October, there being received with passing great charity, the people be tawny but not disfigured in their lips and noses, as the Moors and Kafirs of Ethiopia. Now, I want you to consider what I'm saying here when he says the Moors and the Kafirs of Ethiopia. Not going to say that word again just in case of YouTube censors. But the Moors section of it, you see there where he's saying the people of Goa, right, in a part of India, they are not disfigured, meaning, now obviously he's being very offensive, but he means that those people do not have the same, the difference that the Africans have, whereas the people of Goa look like Europeans because to him that's what's considered being figured, and the people, the Moors, are different. Now, if we take a picture of a Moor and we compare it to a person from India or anywhere like that, we will easily see that there's no reason for him to consider a Moor disfigured in any way, shape, or form. Now, keep in mind, this is from the 1500s, so we're not talking about later in the years and they're revising it. We're talking about someone who lived in the 1500s, and he's saying that the Moors and the Ethiopians, the Kafirs of the Ethiopians, which by the way, when he's saying Moors, it's a double because the word Kafre back then meant irreligious. It comes from the Muslim word that means don't believe in God. He is only one of many letters that we have of people who mention them in this way. And of course, we have the paintings and we have all of that to back it up. So the Moors, as we know, are just another connection of a larger African ethnicity. Now, if you care at all, then you would have known that the Ceylon Moors, meaning the Moors of India, would have been a word that was used in so many other places in the world. The word Moors, just like how the word Negro was used for people outside of Africa, just like how the word Guinea was used for people outside of Africa, like Equatorial Guinea, just like how the word, I mean, there's thousands of these words that start somewhere. Now, the reason why this is important, why I mentioned this guy, not this guy on the screen, because this is a different guy with a different quote, but the reason why I mentioned the guy Stevens before is because he represents pre Ceylon Moors, pre Moors or just anyone Muslim, pre any of that stuff. And so he represents the true identity of the.
Something a little creepy about the images of Moors is that a lot of time you see them standing alone. I don't know why they do this, where the Moors are always somewhere dressed like obviously North Africans, as you would expect. I mean, a lot of this, although it does look African, it's also like a very North African look with a turban and everything. But yeah, so next we have James Lancaster, who wrote this. Thus, passing on forward, it was our luck to overshoot Mozambique and to fall on a place called Cotongoni, 2 leagues to the northward of it, and we took 3 or 4 barks of Moors, which barks in their language they call pangias, laden with Milohanis and ducks, with one Portugal boy going for the provision of Mozambique. Within few days following, we came to an island 100 leagues to the northeast of Mozambique called Comoro, which we found exceeding full of people, which are Moors of tawny color and good stature, but they be very treacherous and diligently to be taken heed of. Here we desired to store ourselves with water, whereof we stood in great need, and sent 16 of our men, well armed, on shore in our boat, whom the people suffered quietly to land and water, and divers of them with their king came aboard our more. Okay, but we don't need to look into more of this conversation, but that's basically it. And I've shown you the Comoro Islands. That's the one which had those like Madagascan slash black people who were eventually who took over that land and blah 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 blah. Now to finish off, I'm gonna show a different part which talks about the Moors and Negroes, separates them. But you saw that in the other one where they said Caffres and Moors. They do that a lot where they separate the two groups even though they're Negroes. And you'll notice that even if you were going to make the argument that if they name them differently, that means that they're talking about two different groups, but they say Moors and Arabs sometimes. So if the Moors are Arabs, then why would they say that as well? What we have now is this quote, which says, Hereupon the pilot major commandeth the party to be examined, to give information that he is a mariner and well practiced in those parts about which he desireth to be examined. And then immediately he bringeth 5 or 6 pilots before examined to give testimony that he is a good mariner and sufficient to become a pilot, that he is a Spaniard born, and that he is not of the race of the Moors, Jews, or Negroes. Now, of course, this will make your head spin, like, why is he separating Moors and Negroes? But you notice that he's also separating Jews. So this word Moor is about a very specific type of people.